I love it, bro.
And we are live. What is going on? I want to welcome you from halftime with Woodward Pistons. I am your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my guy,
Let's
Detroit
go.
Kool-Aid, aka tonight the businessman, the beat
Let's
reporter, the
go.
professional, the godfather, the guy, the bearded man himself, dude.
I appreciate you. This is in solidarity for Cade Cunningham.
I like it. I like it.
You remember
You,
Bearded Cade?
you
Bearded
look like
Cade.
a young Rod Beard getting ready to take on the world. I like it. But
Let's go, bro.
oh, shout out to Rod. He's not watching, but he's out there. But anyway, it is halftime of this preseason game. Of course, the Detroit Pistons and the New York Knickerbockers are facing off in this preseason action, and the Pistons trail by 12 at halftime. Currently looking at the box sheet, at the box score, the biggest
Yeah.
story of the first half has been turnovers. The
Yeah.
Pistons have 13 of them and specifically also have 11 personal fouls. In addition, Cade Cunningham is 2 of 8 from the field, and he has 2 turnovers himself. Sadiq has 3, and I think the big thing, first of all, this is preseason, so let's relax. I think is the first thing because I saw Twitter borderline having to be talked off the ledge during the first half, and I kind of want to say my big thing, or like not my big thing, because I think, first of all, I think Bojan Bogdanovic has been as advertised. 11 points, 3 for 4 from the field, 3
Yeah.
for 3 from beyond the arc. Solid defense. Isaiah Stewart needs to be better on the glass. I think he's having a difficult matchup against Randall and Robinson, who are both good rebounders themselves. I think he just has to be more aggressive in boxing out. I think Cade, it's just a matter of getting in rhythm. This is preseason game number 1.
Yeah.
And the number one thing, the X factor I talked about in the Woodward Pistons the pregame stream was Jaden Ivey going to show that composure? Was he going to be able to come out and, even though he had those first couple of attempts where he got stuffed at the going into the paint, he responded. He had that pull up 3. He had a couple of impressive assists to Cade and to the other guys on the court. And he even was able to get to the rim and make some layups through contact. So overall, I think Ivy's looked really calm tonight, which I've been impressed with. Willie, what have been your impressions? What players have stood out to you, and what have been your overall thoughts?
Yeah, as the game has gone on, I've kind of taken some notes and timestamps of some of the plays that definitely stood out to me. And honestly, the player who I'm most impressed with so far in terms of what I was trying to see out of him is Jalen Duren. I was just
Yeah.
trying to see if, as a player, if he was going to be just a guy who was just kind of there, going through the motions, kind of feeling his way through, or if he was going to be an NBA ready player. And 5 rebounds in the first 3 minutes of play for him. Tough paint play. He didn't back down from anything. I like the way that Jalen Duren looked. The other half of that, as it relates to our rookies, I love the way Jaden Ivey looked. He just looked confident. He looked sure of
Yeah.
himself. Started off the game a little bit like he was trying to feel his way through, but I noticed kind of after the bump, he just looked to seem to kind of
He
settle.
responded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
He
I
got
love to
knocked
see that from
down.
my
He got
guys.
right back up.
Yep. Yep. Killian Hayes, that's a guy that we said even in the pregame, we want to see if he's going to ride that wave from media day and from the open practice where he's talking about aggressiveness and confidence, 3-point shooting. He's learned from his first and second years. Who is he going to be when that second unit comes in? I liked what I saw from him. I mean, overall, what are you going to do? It is preseason.
There were
This
points where
looks
he
like a
was overly
game.
aggressive.
Yeah, this looks like a game between a young up and coming team learning to play the right way versus a Coach Tibbs defensive minded squad who
Right.
literally, whether they're doing whatever they're supposed to be doing on offense, right or not, Coach Tibbs teams play defense the right way, or at least they go all the way out like extreme all the time.
Well, in case people forgot, this was a team that hosted a playoff series 2 years ago. Like, not this past season, but the season before. They were a 4th seed in the
And who
Eastern
did they
Conference.
add this year?
And they added Jalen Brunson, who, by the way, a lot of people were dogging the Knicks for going out and spending that money. A lot of people were calling me dumb for considering wanting him on the Pistons if we got him at the right price. He's looked like a professional point guard so far. He's looked like a proven veteran who's only gotten better. I think he's shown that the
Oh,
guy who I think he's shown the guy who he was in that playoffs this last year was not a fluke. That's who he is. He's just a professional. In addition, I think you saw guys like RJ Barrett and, I think a lot of it is like, I don't think Detroit's been playing bad defense for the most part.
No.
I think they've shown up to play. I think the Knicks have just hit like contested shots. I mean, granted, you don't really want to give up 42 points in a quarter, which the Pistons did do in that second quarter. However, it's one of those things where this is preseason game number 1.
Yeah.
This is half number 1, and you're facing a team that not only is a predominantly veteran group, like, really, there's almost no rookie that played outside of McBride, which, by the way, he's really impressive. That point guard, that backup point guard in the Knicks, he had 3 steals in just 5 minutes, was
Yeah.
causing hell for Corey Joseph, which is, who is a consummate professional and a good veteran. So for him to cause all the issues that he had, you know, good on him. At the end of the day, the Pistons do got to, if you do want to see him play better and respond, but that's what the second half is for. The other thing to note, we might also not necessarily see a whole lot of minutes for Cade and some of these guys in the second half. I think another thing to note, I think not only is it interesting to see what guys have done so far, it's also interesting to see who hasn't played so far. One guy in particular I noticed a lot of people have noticed has not played a lot is Hamidou Diallo. And Kool-Aid, I think you and I kind of have had conversations hinting at the fact that, like, he had a solid place in the rotation this last year, but that doesn't necessarily lock his place in the rotation this year. Like, do you think, and also, like, that doesn't mean he's not going to play in the second half. So what are your thoughts on that? And what do you think fans should take away from that, if anything?
Yeah, I remember last year. I feel like Casey did stuff like this too in the preseason, and it wasn't really indicative of what the regular season was going to be. It
Mhm.
was more or less like he was trying to see guys in certain situations. He was trying to put guys in where the pressure is not as high, and we could see where these guys are. A tightened rotation. The Knicks in the first half of this game are going to bring it, and so you probably want to see your rookies in that type of environment. You want
Mhm.
to see them play through some things. You want to see Isaiah Livers. You know who Hamidou Diallo is. Yes, he's working at trying to improve and get better, but obviously, and of course, we are going to see him at some point in time in this preseason before the season gets going. Hopefully, it is in the second half at some point in time when some of these starters should probably start to take a rest. I know Coach Casey said guys are going to be looking at about 25 minutes tonight. So, a lot of the guys in the starting lineup are at 16 minutes already. So we
Mhm.
should be getting some Hami action, potentially in the second half.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah.
the fourth quarter is gonna be really when you see a lot of these deeper rotation guys come in. I think you might see a little bit more of the starters to start the third quarter. I think you've been seeing a lot of young teams, like even Memphis and Orlando for like the first 3 quarters are playing starters regular minutes. So I think the Pistons could
Mhm.
potentially follow that trend. However, I wouldn't expect much beyond the third quarter, in my opinion, Kool-Aid.
Right. No, I wouldn't either. And just to put this game in perspective, people have to understand the reason why the Pistons are down by 12 is because they have 13 turnovers. They haven't played defense bad. The Knicks have grabbed a couple, 4 offensive rebounds. They've
Mhm.
hit some tough shots, some tough and ones. They've hit a couple tough threes. And whenever you have a turnover and your defense is in flux, sometimes it's hard to guard that trailer that's coming down and hitting that three. And that's happened a couple times against the Pistons tonight. But overall, some of the stats that kind of stick out to me, I've pondered who's going to replace Jeremy Grant's free throw production. We also pondered who's going to defend the position he used to. And I saw 2 guys tonight actually do some pretty decent jobs at that. Sadiq Bey leading the team right now in field goal and free throw attempts. I'm sorry, at 5. He missed that first one. In a regular season game, that's going to be good
Mhm.
to go. And he was very aggressive getting into the paint, very aggressive. I know he got fouled on a shot, I think on a 3-point shot or a jump shot as well. And then Isaiah Livers, that's the other guy. I thought he looked really good on defense. There was a play in particular that I
He
marked
came out
where,
and set the tone.
where he switched several times in the paint, did
Yeah.
not allow the offender to, encroach and get behind him. They wound up having to go back outside and reset and come back in. He wound up getting a block without even having to jump.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure. I mean, keep
yeah.
in mind, guys, I mean, looking at the stat sheet, I mean, like Jalen Brunson's 6 of 8 in the first half. He's made the Pistons pay.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett's 5 of 11 from the floor from the field. you've still kept Julius Randle relatively out of the action. I think in the second half, it's just about how can you keep the ball better protected? How can you, set up easy baskets and, potentially score in transition some more? And also, how do you keep setting the tone on the defensive end? Fight your way back into this game a little bit, and then just see how some of these rotation pieces come in and set the tone. I think one guy I'm curious to see more of, and I think we will see a good amount more of towards the end of the game is going to be Jalen Duren. I think he is going to be a guy that they're going to be playing a good amount of. I think one starter that you could see them putting out there in the fourth quarter is Isaiah Stewart, specifically to see if they can use some of that time to do the Duren Stewart front court combination that they've been wanting to. I think this is a perfect opportunity or a good platform to possibly give that a try. So maybe that's something that they want to tool with a little bit more deeper in training camp, because that's one other thing to keep in mind. Even though this is preseason game number 1, they're still also in the beginning of training camp. The season doesn't start for another 2 weeks. And so there's still a lot more that can happen. Also joining us is our guy, Carl Collins, at Carl Collins Prod. Also, Carl Collins Productions on YouTube. Go subscribe. God dang it. My boy, Carl. How you feeling?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to see our guys back out there, man.
Oh. Yeah. It's just good to see the Pistons red and blue on a basketball court again, isn't it?
Yep.
One thing I will say, before we get your thoughts, Carl, Jaden Ivey just looks like an NBA player. Like, how some rookies come in and it's like, oh, they need to bulk up a little more. Like Ivy just looks like an NBA player. Like him at the 2-guard spot, he doesn't look too small out there to me at all.
No.
He definitely looks like he belongs. Athletically, he's quick, man. He's just quick, and it's so nice to have that finally. Who else looks like he belongs is Jalen Duren in terms of physicality.
Yeah, and here's what I will say: Pistons with all these turnovers in the first half, no turnovers by Jaden Ivey, a guy who's handled the ball a good amount. So something to point out. That's not going to be the case every night. He's going to turn the ball over a lot this year. He is a rookie, but impressive in his first night that, he's taking care of the ball pretty well so far. But Carl, what have your thoughts been? What stood out to you, and what takeaways do you have?
So it's what I expected out of a preseason game. Very sloppy, especially early on. I'm actually still finishing up the first half, but from what I've seen so far, I like what I see. I guess in general, I expected to see Bojan kind of come up big for us. I was excited to see him hit some shots. I know Cade. Everyone's kind of struggling somewhat. Cade, Bay. I guess it's a little more sloppy than I expected, but it is what it is. I mean, our guys. There's a lot of new guys out there. Jeremy Grant's gone. We got to replace his production. And I think guys are just figuring out where to be and where other guys like to go. So that accounts for some of it. But overall, it's just fun to see them back out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And with Jaden Ivey, it's interesting when you look at Killian and you look at Jaden Ivey. Obviously, he's taking care of the ball. Killian is taking care of it as well. Only 1 turnover, leading the team with 3 assists tonight. It's good to see those guys having that type of an impact on the game, because Saddiq Bey and Cade Cunningham, more times than not, they're not going to have the types of shooting nights that they're having tonight.
Yeah.
As it relates to preseason, Saddiq Bey and Cade Cunningham, they looked the part. And I know the second half is getting underway here. Now, yeah.
Yep, for sure. Second half is going to go ahead and get started here. We are. I am going to wait just 1 second because we do have someone that does want to hop on real quick before we do get going. But Kool-Aid, if you do got to get going to watch the game and tweet it, I do understand. Thank you so much for being here, brother. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Iafredi will be on here momentarily to give his thoughts and takeaways on the game so far. So
awesome. I gotta say what up to the Brody.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Iafredi's in the building. My boy Jeff, how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. It's good to see some basketball. I got no complaints. But I've been listening to the show, and you guys are making some great points. I mean, I agree with it. Would pretty much be echoing what you guys have been saying. But overall, 42% from deep. I know it's preseason, but listen, that was the big thing coming in is the shooting, and Bojan's out there knocking them down. So I can't complain. Jaden Ivey looks like a pro. he's completely comfortable. I know it's preseason, but to go into your first preseason game and have that like aura about you, like you're so comfortable, like these things, like he knows what to do with the basketball. I was told he wasn't a good shooter. I was told this, and he knocked down his first 3-point shot, a pull-up 3-point shot in transition, knocked it down. Now, we'll see. Oh, Noah was not towed, by the way. I went and checked it. We were good. Birmingham didn't get me. It did not get me. But no, man, I love it. I love it. And listen, they look like a team that's young. I mean, let's be honest. All the turnovers, like I'm not shocked. It's preseason. You're going to have these things, but I'm just excited just to see Cade and Jaden together on the floor.
They look like a team that's young, that's playing their first organized game together against a group of seasoned veterans who literally were in the playoffs just 2 years ago.
Tibbs got those. Man, defensively, Tibbs always gonna bring it.
That's what it was. That was at the top of my notes, man. That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, Tibbs' team looks like Tibbs' team, and the Pistons look like a team that knows what they want to do but has to get there.
Yeah, just Tibbs just standing there,
they're a young team.
All angry, just.
Dude, you know what's funny? Did any of you guys think about this? Stan Van Gundy talking, doing.
I was just thinking about that, man.
I would say he's commentating the game. He's like, "Yeah, they got that backcourt. That's the future of this team." He's thinking in his head like, "Damn,
if only I had that, man." Instead,
Johnson. Come on.
Like, man, maybe me taking the franchise with Blake wasn't so bad after all. That's probably what he was thinking. But with that, folks, we do want to get you all back to the game. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Kool-Aid, my guy, keep doing your awesome work tonight. We appreciate it. Carl, we love you as always. Thank you so much for joining. We'll be going live post-game afterwards on Woodward Pistons, so be sure to tune in over there. Thank you for tuning in to From Halftime with Woodward Pistons. We'll catch you guys next time. Be sure to subscribe.
All right, guys.